So welcome to Scrapbook Live. I'm Megan Jacks. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, and today's layout is a recent one from the Creative Memories blog. It's using the Poolside Paradise collection. And this one is deceptively, well, I would say it's deceptively easy if you follow the blog, because they've got some tile paper in the blog, in the paper pack, the Poolside Paradise paper pack, that you can cut in half on the diagonal. You cut out some squares, you add them strategically onto those squares, and voila, you've got a layout all set to go. So of course, I like the look, and I don't mind the Poolside Paradise collection, but I thought, well, we could make this with other things, right? We have a square punch. We can punch some squares and adhere them to pages or to the paper and cut that on the diagonal. So yeah, we're going to give that a whirl and see how it goes. Just as a reminder, if you need the handout, if you're watching live right now on Facebook, you can catch it in the first comment. If you're watching this on YouTube later, it'll be a link in the description below. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what we've got going. So this is the Poolside Paradise paper that they have you working with. So this is, as I mentioned, out of the Poolside Paradise, and what you'll do is you'll want to cut this on the diagonal. Now, if you're just making a single page, you can cut it on the diagonal, adhere your squares, trim off your extra. If you want to make a 2-page layout and you want to basically cut it on the diagonal and separate your paper into 2 squares on opposing pages, I would probably put this together, putting a full square of patterned paper into this, into the diagonal here. On the diagonal that you're going to cut, you would put a patterned paper in each one of these squares. And the directions here do tell you you need a 2 1/8 inch square of the paper. So you'll have to trim that by hand or with your trimmer. We don't have a punch that'll do that. Now, I want to highlight one of the things about cutting paper on the diagonal, because that's always a big question. There's a couple of ways you can do this. One of the ways is to fold the paper in half diagonally, put it into your trimmer, and then cut the folded paper. Not my favorite way of doing it, simply because I don't like the creases. The other option is to use a long straight edge and draw a diagonal line and cut with scissors. That would be one way to do it. My favorite way to do it is to use an 18-inch ruler. So I have an 18-inch ruler. I just got this off of Amazon. Just Google or search on Amazon. Mine's the Fiskars brand. This is a 3 by 18-inch ruler. What's nice about the 18-inch is it will allow you to draw a measurement. Will draw a line on the diagonal, which can be really helpful. But what's even better is when you pair it with a handheld rotary trimmer, and then you're able to cut your paper on the diagonal. So I will tell you, if you decide to dive into the world of a handheld rotary trimmer with an 18-inch ruler, 1, it's amazing. 2, practice before you start cutting your pretty paper. So I'm going to show you how to do it with the cover sheet of the Poolside Paradise paper. So here is my paper. I'm going to go ahead and just flip it over, but it's the cover sheet. And depending on the direction you need to cut it, you can use your ruler. And so if I want to cut it, if I want to use my rotary trimmer this direction, I'm going to be pulling my papers apart this way. So this piece would go in the upper left corner of my left page. This one would go into the lower right corner of my right page. If I trim it this direction, I will have a piece going into the lower left of the left page and the upper right of the right page. So think about that when you're cutting your diagonals. You're going to separate the pieces based on that concept. So for the Poolside Paradise collection, you will want to cut it from the upper left to the lower right. That's going to be your the way you're going to cut it. Now I'm right-handed, so I'll be using the rotary trimmer in my right hand. And you really just need to line up your ruler and go corner to corner. If you want to line your paper up on your cutting mat before you do that, you can, but it's not super important as long as you make sure to get corner to corner with your rotary trimmer or your ruler. So I want to put this on here. It can help sometimes to stand up. So that can be something to keep in mind. You are going to want to extend out your rotary trimmer. And when you put it onto your paper, you're going to start a little bit before you go into this. Our goal is to do this in one pass so that we don't end up with like some kind of crazy edges. But you want to go slow. This ruler is a little slippery, so if you put a lot of pressure towards it, it could slide. You get the hang of it. That's why I say practice. You'll get the idea, because we are going to want to keep our rotary trimmer along the edge of our ruler. You will hear a little bit of a pop when your trimmer pierces the paper. And that's going to tell you that you've broken through the paper. And then you're just going to continue up the line. I've got some good even pressure. I was starting to slide a little up here. I could see that. I can tell I didn't get even pressure all the way in the middle. So I'm going to come in here. As I said, it's not always perfect. Part of my issue is my ruler started to slide. So I don't have the best trimming, but you get the idea of how it works. As I mentioned, practice, do a couple of sheets. Once you've done one, you can come in and practice with your trimmer and just keep making cuts. I just totally cut my finger, which is no good. So be careful. It is very careful, or very, I just sliced, not too bad, but we're gonna have to watch that. So there's how you go. But like I said, be careful, keep your eye on it. My issue is I took my eye off what I was cutting. So we're going to just keep on going here. And hold on, actually, I'm gonna ask you guys for just 2 seconds. I'm gonna pause my recording and I'm gonna go grab a Band-Aid, because it's not a bad cut. It is just like a really bad paper cut. So sorry for that. But I definitely needed to get a Band-Aid. That's the first time I've actually cut myself with this. And again, my issue is I took my eye off of it to look at my recording. So don't do that. Keep your eye on it. Keep your fingers out of the way. Okay. So to get started with our project, we just know that the rotary trimmer is going to be our tool that we are going to be using. I am also going to be building this from scratch. I didn't really need to do a poolside paradise, and I wanted to show you guys how we can do it using the square punch. So I have already punched a bunch of paper, because let me just give you the quick little side story here. It's very quick. I'm just going to show you what my naughty cat did. You can maybe see on the back side. See, when somebody gets mad at me, she likes to bite things, and she likes to bite my paper packs. So that's fun. So what I did is that paper pack, I needed to do another layout with it. I have a second set of photos I need to do from a landscaping project we did, and I've been using it. This is the Calm and Collected. So I have punched a bunch of those papers with the square punch. And what I'll be able to do is you're going to need, if you're going to do a whole sheet, you're going to need 49 of those pieces if we're going to cover the whole sheet. All right. So just take the time to punch it out. Really what I did is I came in and I flipped my paper over, and I punched. You can get 6 on here if you kind of pay attention. I would punch one side. I would then flip it over and punch the other side, so I get like 12. And then I would slice off the sets that I punched and punched more. So depending on the number of papers, different patterns you use, you're gonna need a total of 49. Now, one thing I wanna highlight in here, I guess they did really they went with, you know, like every other one being a pattern versus kind of that beige tile. So if you are using a more neutral pattern, you might want to have more of the neutral patterns, and then you can come in with smaller glimpses of the decorative pieces. I went my pattern is very a lot of a neutral, lighter tone, and then coming in with some of the darker colors. The lighter tone I chose was I used like more of this particular print and then came in more sparingly with these other darker, well, there's still a lighter print there, but I came in more sparingly with these colors. So I wanted to keep it light and airy, so I went with a lighter color. Now I am going to put this on a piece of medium craft cardstock because that looks really nice. I wanted to have a little bit of a, oh, I don't know how you say, just a little bit of contrast in there. It's overall, it's going to end up on a piece of white, bright white cardstock after I cut it on the diagonal. And I do want 2 pieces. So I'm going to need to cover my entire page. When you start this, you are going to want to start in the middle. And then we are going to build out from the middle. That will allow us to have even spacing all the way around. We will need to cut off all the edges will need to be cut off. The spacing doesn't get it just perfect. I use 1/8 inch spacing. If you really wanted to try to use it and get perfectly even, you could probably figure out what it was, but I just went with a total of 7 across each row, 7 tall, 49 total. Now to do this, what I recommend is I would recommend using your repo adhesive. You're going to need repo adhesive. Adhering whatever you're building your piece onto your cutting mat. It's just going to be easier. So I'm put on my cutting mat. Now to find center and define, we want that first piece in there nice and square. That is when you tile anything, like you're doing a tile project in your house, that first piece you put down sets the tone for the rest of the placement. So we want to find the middle of our paper. And instead of just coming here at 6 inches across, I want to find, not only do I want to find the middle, I want to make sure I'm rotated square, my first square that I'm putting in the middle, I want it to be smack dab in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and find my diagonals, because that's going to give me 4 reference points, each of my corners, to be able to know that I'm perfectly center. So to do that, I'm going to use, again, my 18-inch ruler. It's for more than just cutting. I'm going to use my pencil, light pencil line. And I really only need to, mostly here in the middle, but it will be helpful as you build your pieces to have the diagonals going in each direction, simply because it can give you that nice reference point as you're adding pieces. You'll see when we're adding our pieces on here that we definitely will have pieces that line up on the diagonal here and they line up on the diagonal the other direction. So I'm going to put my diagonal in both directions. And you can see where I found center. Where those lines cross, that is the center. Now, before you get started, you are going to want to figure out your overall spacing and your pattern, how you want your pattern. I know I want darker colors. I want not my bright colors, I want my darker colors going up the diagonal. And you don't have to worry about spacing. You are not too concerned about spacing right now. We are just doing a loose fit to figure out our like how we want things to be on here. So it's all about just kind of messing around with it. You are looking for overall distribution of your colors. So if you take the time here to kind of get things spaced out, it probably is easier to follow the blog's concept where following the pattern where it's every other tile is like a darker, and then is a pattern, and then you have a neutral that comes in between. So you can imagine where I'm leaving beige, imagine that being a very neutral color would be my lighter color. I just don't have enough punch to show you because I may already have this completely done. And I'm just going to show you how to get it started, because after you get it started, it's just about putting it together. So you can see here how it would go. Let's see. Yeah, you just play around with it. So I'm not going to belabor putting that. I want to show you how to get those on there. But once you kind of get everything figured out, how you want it to sit, I would recommend after you get everything all perfect on here, like not perfect, you get it positioned and you know where you want all your pieces to be. What I would recommend is either taking a picture of it with your phone, so you have a reference in case everything gets like crazy, and working with a second mat. So you may have this all spaced out on, maybe you've done it just on a blank, just your regular 13 by 13 mat without the paper behind it. What you can then do is transfer from one to the other and actually put the pieces down. So let me just kind of go ahead and get started here. This first piece, as I said, is kind of the important one. I want to make sure when I put this on here that I am lining up all of my corners with my pencil lines. See, all of my corners match up with a pencil line. After you've done that, you can get out your 18-inch or your T-square, and you can line that up. And the T-square is going to help me line my first rows up. I would recommend it is easier to just put some adhesive on, not full length strips, but just little dabs of it. And I'm looking for not quite 1/8 of an inch. I am just putting these on to show you guys. These are really going in no particular order. And you can see here, we've got about 1/4 of an inch over on the other side that's overhanging. I see a question asking where I got my T-square. I got my T-square from Amazon. I get everything from Amazon, but you can get them at the craft store. They sell them. They will a T-square at the craft store is more than likely going to be, if you can find the drafting and drawing components, so more the fine art side of drawing, you will probably find a T-square in there. So there we go. There's our first row. Then what I'll be able to do is, if I want to, I can rotate, line it up, and I'll be able to put in my next row. So I'm going to basically do a, like make quadrants, I guess. I'll do a big T in the middle, or a big, one direction across 2 lines. I don't know how you want to say it. We're going to make it look like a big plus sign. And then once you have both of these rows put in, you work on filling in each of these other sections. As I said, this is just like illustrative purposes to show you guys how this all goes together. All right, so after you get these put into place, then what you can do is start building in. What's nice is I've got that diagonal line. When I put my squares on here, I should, for the most part, follow that diagonal down to the corner in each direction. So it does take some time to put your entire grid together, but it is worth it. Once you get the hang of it, it's kind of monotonous, but taking the time to get your first pieces put in place is going to save you a lot of headaches later. And if you're using repo adhesive, if you need to pull and make some adjustments, maybe you don't like your pattern, you want to move things around, you can. Now, here's the magic. I already have it done. I did this earlier today because you guys do not want to see me take the time to figure out my pattern, to put it together. I think I did this like in 20 minutes. It took me to adhere everything on. So that's after it was punched. That was after I put all the placing on. It took me about 20 minutes. And what I did is I really did put this out on one piece of paper and had it sitting next to me and just transferred. Like I'd pull the piece and put it over here, pull the next piece, put it right there, pull the next piece. So Deborah's asking the 49 squares for one page. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 7 down. We will be trimming off. I have to pull this paper off. I had adhered it to my cutting mat. So I'm going to pull that off, and you can see there is a little bit of waste. If you don't want to use the 49, if you want to go the 36 and get your 6 by 6, you're just going to have to figure out the spacing a little bit more. You'll probably have wider grout lines, which is okay. I have pretty narrow, tight grout lines. Whereas if you look at the Poolside Paradise, you can see they're bigger. They're probably closer to 1/8 of an inch. So it just kind of depends on what you want. Now it is time to cut this on the diagonal. I have a direction, a particular one that I need to cut this. I'm just trying to remember when I put this together, I told myself there was a direction I was going to cut it, and I need to cut it on this direction. Yes, because I need these pieces to not be next to each other. I need to separate that. All right, so now here comes the fun. First, I need to trim this up. I need to get rid of all of these overhangs. It's a little hard when you can't see the cleaning, just getting it all cleaned up. So now I've cleaned it all up. And this itself would just be a cute page without cutting it in half. But I want to cut it in half. I want to have those it's a 2-page layout, so I need to have it cut in half. And I need to cut this diagonal. All right, moment of truth. Let's hope that I can do this. I am stuck in the middle. It's going through 2 layers there is a little bit more. There we go. A little bit down here, I'm going to go ahead and cover and just cut this. There we go. So now it's time to see how this would look on a layout. So let me grab my papers. Cheryl's right. This is a definite, if you have lots of scrap pieces of paper, this is going to be a great way to use those. So you can grab your scrap bin, you can punch. I punched out of various papers. It really just depends on how much variety you're wanting in your design. I wanted to keep, kind of a neutral. I'm trying to coordinate with a layout that's already done that used this collection. So I just want to make sure. So this is going to sit up in this corner. This is going to sit over here. And now I've got a lot of space in here. So almost everything I get, if it's not from Creative Memories, is going to be from Amazon. So the handheld rotary trimmer, the 18-inch ruler, and the T-square are all from Amazon. So you can find them just searching on Amazon. I'll link some in the blog post. I'll put it on there. I do want to have some border elements. They show those in the layout or the blog handout. You can see they come in with some stickers across the bottom. And I used weaving waves in my other layout that I'm coordinating with. So I thought it would be nice to have that cohesion between the two layouts to use the same border. So that's what I'm going to do here. I am going to sorry, I forgot to put my phone on silent, and Tessa decides that she has to message me right now. Doesn't she know I'm busy? And then here's the second one. It would come here at the top. Now, of course, I can make adjustments. If I need to, if my layout looks better where it's vertical, I could certainly do that. You've got some options to go with. I probably will keep it being horizontal. And then, of course, I need to work in my photos. My mats, I am going to be cutting up the paper. I used this particular paper in my original layout. I used it as my mats, so I'm going to continue to do the same. I will want to make sure I leave a lot of space down here open. We want to see the design. We just worked really hard on that. I want to make sure you can see it. So I will probably come in with keeping these at 6-inch 4x6s. That's usually easy for me to make the photos work. This is landscaping photos, so I know I've got a lot of horizontal, but the design can go vertical as well. So maybe something along those lines. I've got to find the pictures. I printed some, but I need to go in and maybe take some more. Come back to the paper that Kitty chewed up. Cut some more mats with that. I generally, and I've said this before, I generally go ahead and cut my mats to 4x6, and then I'll cut my papers or my photos a little bit smaller, simply because it's a more efficient use of paper. But if you're working with mats, like out of the variety mat pack, you'll have the 4.5 by 6.5, which can be really nice. Somebody did ask what paper pack this is from. This is from the Calm and Collected. It was a quarterly paper pack from a few years ago. It's older. It was released in the autumn. It had some autumn stickers that went with it, but it really just has some nice blues and greens. Worked really well for outdoor photos. So I'm very excited to show this. So the layout that they show in the sample only has 2 photos on here. I would be able to come in with some peekaboo pockets. That's the nice thing about using 4x6s as well. I can peekaboo pocket that, which works actually great for kind of before and afters when you're, so for like, if we redid some landscaping, so I might do some before and after where you flip the peekaboo pocket up to show the before and after. But in general, this is what I was aiming for. Now, one thing I did do, and let me see, before I adhere this paper on, in the other layout I did, it was part of Summer Scrap, the Summer Scrap Challenge. I did a little bit of inking detail, just real easy inking detail around the edge of my white cardstock. So let me just quickly show you how I do it, which is, trust me, not very precise, and it's not meant to be precise. So I'm going to use the thin edge, and this is the brown dual tip pen. You could use the thin edge of the fine tip of the dual pen, the journaling pen. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see a little bit better. And I am simply going to start in the corner. I'm not all the way into the corner. So when I start with this, and this is just putting on like a squiggly edge, I'm going to start about not quite a 1/4 of an inch on the in here. But I am going to do that and just give myself a frame. I literally turned like just completely sideways. And I am just kind of like a little squiggle, a wavy. It's not really a squiggle. But you see how I didn't go all the way to the end. I stopped. I'm going to rotate, pick up where I left off, and go all the way same. and then do the same thing. And I could do it all the way around if I wanted to. Straight is not the point. Straight is not the point. It is meant to be slightly shaky. So don't worry about making it straight. Now here's the great thing about practicing this is you can practice it on cardstock, flip it over and just use your paper in your layouts. So it's a great little technique to practice. And I like it because it just gives a little something on that inside edge. So you can see how that's going to look and just kind of frames out that page, putting those squiggly lines. You could add other details. We've seen, I know, various contributors to the blog. Melissa does it, Brenda Rose does it, where they have different little like accent pieces they'll use. I think Brenda Rose likes to use dots. Melissa has used like slash lines. However you want to do it, you can do little like chevron arrow things if you want to add those additional, like a little bit of detail. I'm not going to worry about it so much. I pretty much just wanted that little bit of fine detail there. So I will actually do that with both pieces, have that detail. And what is nice is I replicated that same detail on my other layout. Let me I'll show you just a quick little peek. So here's the other layout, but you can see I did that same detail around the edge and I use my weaving waves. And this particular layout does have some angled lines in it, which is really nice because this one does too. So I've got two layouts, two separate, all part of the same event, if you will, with the remodeling of our landscaping with our new trees and sod and so forth. So there's nice cohesion between the two pages without them being matchy-matchy. They just coordinate really well. So I will have to dig through some photos, get this all figured out, but you're kind of seeing where this is going. I will be able to add a title in here, some journaling. I'm just not sure yet what my orientation of my photos will be. So lots of options there. Okay, so that's what I've got for you guys today. Hopefully you have a chance to put this together. I really cheated this one by having it like that, all the pieces glued down onto that paper, because we'd still be here adhering all of those pieces. And so if you're working on that and trying to follow along, you just need to pause, come back, you see how to cut the cardstock or your paper on the diagonal so you can add it to your layout. I did record myself as I was adhering all of those pieces earlier today. I'm not talking, I'm going to post it as a sped up video so you can see how it goes together. It's a lot of just repo adhesive. You just put it on there and you're pretty much done. It's not really, it's a little tedious, but I think it's worth it. It's a really cute, fun layout to do. So hopefully you guys have a chance to give it a try. So, all right. That's what I have for you guys today. I will be back next week with borders. We're going to put some borders together. And then I still don't know. I have a big thing I'm working on that's coming up in August. I'm planning an advisor event. So I might need to take the following week off. It's the first week of school. I'm not sure, because if I do that, then I'm actually probably going to take 2 weeks off. So I will see how it goes. I don't know if I can do 2 weeks. It feels like a lot to not have 2 weeks worth to do it. It's not like I take 2 weeks off. I just don't do Scrapbook Live for 2 weeks, which feels like I take 2 weeks off, but it's really not. It's still working behind the scenes. Okay, everybody, I will get this shared a little bit later today into the group or into the onto YouTube so you guys can see it if you need to go back and watch anything again. Thanks so much. Don't forget, Secret Box is available. If you have ordered boxes 1 through 2, you need to consider ordering number 3 so that you can order number 5 in December. It is marked hot, which means it will likely sell out. It's selling faster than maybe they anticipated. So it's just something to consider. I will have my box later today. I have seen an overall picture of what's inside of it that somebody shared. It's cute. It does really look like that meme picture. So if you've seen the picture of the marketing picture, it's got that vibe. They're very true, just like they were with the concert one that we just had. You saw the colors, the artwork. It's the concept is there. Like they're really showing, they're doing a great job giving us those previews. So if you're looking at that and you're thinking, I like this vibe, the box might be for you. I think it's going to be good. Once people start to see what's inside of it, they're going to be really, really, really happy. All right. Take care, everybody. I will see you all soon.